Okay, so now that we've talked about the elements of HTML, we're actually going to dive in and create our very, very first web page. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure you've downloaded Notepad++. It's the best thing that we're going to have that we're going to use to make web pages. If you haven't downloaded Notepad++ yet, please go to my classroom website and watch the video that shows you how. That way you are all ready to go. So with that being said, we're actually going to start up Notepad++. Now, if you forgot to add Notepad++ as an icon onto your desktop, you can also find it by looking down here and clicking on the Search Windows button. And if you start typing Notepad, what you'll see is that all of those applications that have the word Notepad in them pop up, and you can click on the one you want. So here I now have a brand new Notepad++ page. Now, a couple of key items. We have our title bar for Notepad++ here. Then we have our menu bar where we have all of our options. So you can see the many options we have within Notepad. Then we have our main text area here, which is where we type our text. And then from here, you'll also notice that right now I don't have scroll bars, and that's because I haven't typed enough text to actually have a scroll bar, because I don't need to. And then I have my taskbar down here. So we can see those main components of Notepad++ right there. Now, one thing I want you to make sure is enabled is something called Wordwrap. So you'll notice right now, if I am to type, it all appears nicely on my sheet in front of me. But if I click on View and I unclick Wordwrap, what happens is, by the nature of Notepad, it just keeps typing all the way to the side. We don't actually want that. So inside of your Notepad++, make sure you click on View, and then from there, you'll see Wordwrap. Click on Wordwrap, and then you'll see that that text all comes back. So that's the first piece there. So the next piece is these are all of the tags that we're going to study throughout this particular unit. These 5 we're going to focus on today, and then these next 2 slides are ones that we'll focus on over the next couple of days. So these are the 5 for today. These are the next few over the next few days. So the first thing is, with every HTML document that we type, we need to start with this doctype tag. So here we type in doctype, and you can see that this is the first tag. And what this does is it tells the browser which version of HTML we are using. And here we're just using standard HTML, hence why we have the doctype tag. So this is always your first tag. Make sure that that is always there. Then the second piece is we always need to have an opening and closing HTML tag. So here we have, and I'm going to indent, I don't need to indent in. So I'm just going to have HTML, and then I'm going to have a closing HTML tag. And essentially, this opening HTML tag will always be your second tag. So it'll go doctype HTML, and then this closing tag right here will be your closing HTML tag, and that will be the last part of your document. So everything that you want to be contained in your HTML document on your web page or in your title needs to go up inside of these tags. So there'll be the second tag and there'll be the fourth tag. Then the next piece here is we actually have what's called a head and a body of our HTML tag. So I'm going to talk about both of these. I have a head and a body tag, and I need both of these. Those are the next chunks of key information. So I'm going to have an opening head tag and an closing head tag. So here you can see I'm indenting in just to make it a little bit easier to read. I'm saying, well, this head, and then I have the body tags. These are key components of our HTML website. So each HTML website has a head and each HTML website has a body. Now they contain different pieces of information. The header tag includes the start and end of a section that contains information about the document. So this will contain things that do not get displayed on the actual web page, but it's just key information about that HTML document. So that can be things like a CSS page link or a JavaScript page link or a title for the web page, something like that. These body tags right here indicate the start and end of what we want to appear on the body of our web page. So anything that we want to appear on our web page needs to go inside of these body tags. So everything like text, images, links, everything, the content, the meat of our web page will go inside of these body tags. So we have our HTML documents with a beginning HTML and an ending HTML tag. We then have a beginning and ending header and a beginning and ending body. And then inside that header tag, we always have something called a title. And we'll talk about the title a little bit more later, but this title always appears in the browser tab. So if we click on a browser here and I go here, what you can see is all of these little tabs up here, these words up here, those are the titles of your actual web page. Those are the titles inside of these header tags. So if I were to type something like my first web page, my first web page would appear up here on the titles. Notice it's not in the meat, it's not in the body or the content area of my web page, but it is a piece that contains something about my web page. And if you were to save this web page in your bookmarks or your favorites, it would save my first web page as your bookmark or favorite item. So from here, this is the basic skeleton. I call it a skeleton because it's like the bare bones, the basics of what you will have with every HTML document that you make. You'll always have the doctype tag. You'll always have the HTML closing and opening as your second and last tag. You'll then indent in and have the head, indent in and have the body, and then here you'll have the title of your actual web page. And this is something you'll start with every single time. Now, the next piece that we need to conquer is we need to talk about how we save this document. So up here in this menu bar, I can click on File, and I can click on Save As. Now, I'm going to click over here. I want you to be very, very purposeful in how you actually save your items so you know where to find everything. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to click on the drop-down menu here and click on your H drive. So this is where you have all of your documents. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to create a new folder, and I want you to call this HTML and JavaScript. So this is where you're going to save all of your documents for my class. So then from here, I'm going to click Open. Hold on a second, where'd it go? So I'm going to do Save As again. Let's go into HTML and JavaScript. There we go. I'm going to add another new folder, and I'm going to do Unit 1 HTML Basics, because that's really what we're learning here. Now I'm going to open up that folder there and add in another folder and say In Class Project 1, because this is In Class Project 1, the one that we're doing together. And then from here, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to save this project as project1.html. And now this part is very, very important. It needs to be .html. Saving it as .html saves it as an HTML document. If you don't change this extension, it's actually not going to save as a web page. So make sure that you save it as a .html web page. And what you'll notice if you do it correctly is when I press save, the colors of my tags actually change, and now it will be color-coded with HTML tags. So what you should have so far is the basic skeleton. You should have project1.html all saved, and now your tags should actually have some color, and you should be able to click on them and see where the opening and closing tags are together. So here's the first video, the basic skeleton, and the next one will walk you through and have you add a little bit more to this web page.